Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to my vegetable garden. For those of you who are new to my videos, I live in Spokane, Washington in USDA Hardiness Zone 5B. Here we are, well into August, and I have some empty raised beds. I want to plant cover crops today, and I realized not a lot of people know what cover crops are and what they do for the soil. So it's a perfect topic for today's video. At this point in the season, I have some empty beds because some of the vegetable crops are finished. They were cool season crops, and we started getting the really high temperatures, and they all said, we're done for the season. We harvested everything, and then we have these empty beds. Now it's very tempting for me to plant everything with a new crop, and I will use 2 of the beds to plant carrots, turnips, and lettuce. But these other beds I want to do something nice for. And technically I should do it for all of those beds, but I do still want to see what else I can get out of the garden before the end of the season. So what I want to do for these other beds is to plant some cover crops. Now sometimes you might hear the term green manure, and it's essentially the same thing. What you're doing is you're planting seeds of certain types of crops. More often than not, they tend to be a type of legume, and you let them grow, and then you either chop them down or let them just die back. And if you've planted them in the spring, you're going to turn them into the soil in the fall. If you have planted them in the fall, you're going to let them die down, turn them into the soil in the following spring. But the thing that these cover crops do is they add important nutrients to the soil, and especially legumes, because they are nitrogen fixers. And so this is going to be great for increasing the amount of nitrogen in the soil of these beds. So first of all, let me show you the types of crops that you might consider planting for cover crops. Here in Spokane, we have a wonderful garden center called Northwest Seed and Pet. And what they do is they package up their own brand of different types of either green manure mixes or cover crops. You'll see both terms. And in this case, this is a blend of rye, Austrian winter peas, which are sometimes referred to as field peas, and buckwheat. I like all of those for cover crops, but you can buy the individual seeds. And if you don't have a large garden center where you live that carries things like this, if you do a web search on the words cover crops, you'll find all kinds of interesting types of seeds that you can buy. The first thing I need to do is to loosen the top couple of inches of soil so that the soil and the seeds will make good contact. Now, if you've followed me for any length of time, you know I'm a huge proponent of not disturbing the soil structure. And that's because different kinds of microorganisms have worked very hard to create this layered structure that benefits the plants and themselves. But I do need to just gently loosen the top. Now you'll notice this soil is extremely dry, and that's because when the crop that was growing in here, which was onions, was finished, my husband Bill took the drip system off of it so that we could conserve water until this bed was needed. So I'm going to be hooking all that back up. But I do have the surface loosened and leveled out pretty well. Okay, now I'm going to hook up the drip system so that it's ready to go. Fortunately, these are all interchangeable for the different beds. We use drip tape for the irrigation system on most of the beds. And there's 4 lines for this 3-foot wide bed, just in case you're curious. Okay. I forgot to turn on the valve. That's the most important part so that the water will flow into this bed. So the next step is spreading the seeds. You can see I spread them pretty thickly. But you want good coverage on a bed. Now we need to water in the seeds really well. Now some people do cover the seeds, but I have never found it to be necessary. And it would be a little challenging, especially the way I broadcast the seeds, right? But I really want to water these in well. And I will hand water them over the next week so they get off to a good start. Now for most gardeners, that would be the end of the story. That would be all you have to do. Unfortunately, in my garden we have a lot of birds, so I have one more step to do. Now since the quail in our garden like to nibble on freshly sprouted seeds, I need to cover this bed with bird netting. And I'll have to do the same for any other beds that I plant, just so they get off to a good start. Once the plants are a few inches tall, I can take the bird netting off. So now you know, if you haven't seen my videos before, what these white PVC pipes are on the sides of the beds. They hold our 1/2-inch recycled drip tubing so that we have these hoops over the bed. Okay, the bird netting is in place. And if you don't have bird problems, I am so envious, because this is an annoying step, but it certainly solves the problem. Okay, so the seeds are in. They've been watered in well. I'm going to hand water them over the next week or so just to get them going. And that is really all there is to it. So it's as simple as that to plant cover crops. I hope that you'll consider doing this as well so you can improve the nutrients in your soil. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you next week. Happy gardening!